Hey guys, thanks for tuning in for today's video. Craig is actually on his way down here. If you guys have noticed, he hasn't been around the last few videos. It's mostly because he's been out of town. He's going to be able to lay eyes on all the modifications that have been done to this front bumper. You know, we've been going back and forth with Martine on things we've noticed, and it's just important for us to have Craig lay eyes on it and identify any other challenges that he sees that we may have missed. He's on his way, kind of excited to see what he thinks and get his take on it. Yeah, stand by.
So Alex was telling me that at this point he's found a guy in Australia who makes the manifold that we need.
Yep.
He said 3 to 4 weeks,
Yep.
right? Allow us to mount the precision turbo parallel to the engine.
Yep.
To get that look.
Yes.
And got a wastegate picked out and all that. So I think that's the path we're going to go.
Yeah, and then he has his guy that's going to make that heat shield, and then once that's all completed, we'll just send it out and have that chromed. I sent the
plastic manifold cover.
Sent that off to the shop.
The coil cover.
Coil cover, yep. I mean, the engine's coming along great. I had the valve covers painted back to original color. I was going to try to inquire with you, but Alex and I went back and looked at the original photos.
I never did that. Yeah. And then, honestly, when I got the car back from Universal, yeah, I was going to go through the motor and do a bunch of different stuff. The surge tank, the intake manifold stuff was going to be changed to a Greddy surge tank and all that kind of stuff, because the factory intake manifold looks crappy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It looks like
I know,
what
it's
it
not
is.
great. It's
like not pretty.
It's kind of like a satin gray color.
But because we never actually got a shot of the engine in the car, it really doesn't matter. But we're going to faithfully reproduce it to what it was when Universal had it. So
yeah.
Now it should quiet down any or most of the criticism.
So we've got the motor, we've got the transmission sorted out. I think you and Alex are talking about clutches and all that stuff, right? So we got to talk about intercooler. We got to figure out what we're going to do for an intercooler.
We're going to do one of the Greddy intercoolers because that's what it had.
Right. Okay.
Like a 3-core, 4-core, whatever we get our hands on.
You probably need to get with Alex and sort that out, because that's something that we need to get at least on the table. When they laid the decals over this rear spat body kit, was there a break in the graphic?
If a break didn't exist when they did it, it certainly did after a while. Because if you can't stretch that stuff over something that's going to flex, and it's going to have flex, you know this.
Right.
So eventually it split down the middle.
Okay.
Right there.
When we send this car out to have all the graphics applied to it, should we have them put a split in the graphic?
And then tuck it under?
And just tuck it?
Yeah. How is it going to be, how are the spats going to be?
Well, and that's something we have to figure out. I mean, we talked a little bit about that, you know, having this kind of pre-molded and then just have it connected via seam sealer, because this is such a predominant area where that green Kawasaki green graphic kind of goes. We have to figure out, do we lay it right over this seam and then just have them come in with a razor and just kind of trim it and cut it down, or do we just apply seam sealer to it and then paint the car, paint right over the seam sealer, and then there won't be anything for him to squish the ends of the graphics into?
Yeah. Well, that's the way it was done with my car.
Okay, so that's
the body kit was already done on the car when they put the graphics on.
Okay.
So it was finished.
And there was a seam sealer, and that's why you said it was kind of molded. Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, then that's what we'll have to do. See the ledge right
Yes,
there?
for sure. Definitely had a ledge.
So, and it's...
If it's within 1/8 of an inch,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and that's my, that's my thought. And if you look at the kick out, so if you look at the angle right here, right? This seems like it has to do more of that. It seems like it needs to come in a little bit more here. Look at that. And then stand over here and look down this way. You see what I mean? This kick out.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. But this picture also...
It's deceiving.
This looks about right. Maybe it has to come out a little bit more, like you said. But,
right, but it's also
but
based on the skag. We want it to match this back part,
Yeah, well, so then you have to work. You know what? I think that's close enough. I mean, frankly, this is already seems like it's already too far out. If you look at the back of this, well, it looked to me like this is actually this is a sharp right now. This right now goes at an angle like this. It looks like it needs to go like this and then come down.
Yeah.
So it's more of a ledge rather than a ramp. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. But looking at this angle, right? Look at the bow right here. I don't see the bow. It's not as noticeable here.
Well, then what you're really saying is that this needs to come out. This whole area needs to come out a little further.
Or it needs to go in here more. It needs to go in here more. This picture, I see a horseshoe kind of thing going on here, and I kind of see it. I don't know. It's so close, man, and that's the thing. We're basing it on photos that photo right here, this looks dead on.
So one barometer you can use is measuring this tip to the tip of this.
And we did
spat.
that.
Okay.
We did that. So they used this photo for this design and that spat.
But one thing that's for sure, this thing goes rounded right here. It's not squared off like this. It's rounded for sure. That's unquestionable.
Okay, well then that's easy. That's easy to fix.
Yeah.
Just have them round that. And that could, actually doing that
might give you
give us that look we need.
Yeah.
In that
so
other
I would
photo.
call his attention to this one.
Okay.
To this photo.
Okay.
And talk it out with he's doing a great job though.
Wait till you see the front bumper. Well, you won't be able to see it on the car because it's being configured for the mold. So
There
look
it
at that. We redid all this to get this shape just perfect. So this is the first layer of resin.
So what we're doing here now, we've taken the bumper now that we have, that we're pretty happy with it, to create the mold, although a couple changes are going to make after the first pieces start coming out of the mold.
Right.
Primarily that this section right here is going to be bulged. This is a steep angle, a flat angle, more or less. But if we look at the pictures, we see that it's bulgy, right? It's got a nice big bulge here.
Right.
Right, and then it rolls under the car. But that's not something we're going to do with the mold. We're going to do that as after work.
With a part. Yeah, so what this is the resin layer upon layer upon layer. These are the baffles, and this is what's making the mold. So once I think we've got, 3 or 4 more layers of resin to put on this. And then once that's complete, then we'll have a part to spit out.
And in the last episode where we had this thing on the car, you sent me some pictures, which I'll use in the video, about the fitment that the the tolerances around the seams, like the hood,
Right.
were like 3 millimeters, like they were perfect.
Right. Yeah, it's
Perfect.
we saved that.
Yeah.
So that's what it was based off of. What we did at the very last minute was we made a change to this line. This line wasn't quite solid enough for us, and this line was this way. We repositioned it to have that carry through all the way.
Distinguished line, yeah.
Because
So
that was important.
The thing about the Bomex and what body kit is that there's a lot of rounding going on around the edges, and that's what's freaky. One of the things is when you cut it out, you just go straight out at a straight angle with a sharp angle, it looks cheap, and I'm sure that's why Bomex didn't do it like that.
I think the end result is going to be better than what's on the market today.
Well, it'd be interesting to see how many inquiries we get from people saying, "Hey, I want that body kit." The Bomex guy, Bomex USA, said he didn't have really a lot of demand for it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't like the body kit. I get that too.
Yeah, sure.
But because of the movie, there's a lot of people who do like it, and predominantly, I'm feeling like it's in different countries because a lot of the inquiries I get from people are from different countries.
I would say, it is what it is. I mean, we're going to have the kit available. If people want to buy it, they can buy it. This is what we're waiting for. We're waiting for the final stages on this side kit to get done. The bumper has been going full steam ahead. And then once that's done, my guys are going to jump on the body work and they're going to be on it pretty quick.
Okay.
And it'll get done pretty quick.
So about 2 more weeks before we're ready to go to body?
That's what we're hoping for, yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
painted by the end of January maybe? Well, maybe it's a bit fast. Probably Valentine's Day.
I would say probably the first week of February.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after that, what are we doing?
And then once that's all done and the paintwork's done and it's color sanded and buffed, and we want to let it sit, we want to let it cure for at least a week or two before we actually do our final color sand and buff. And then after that, it's going to the graphic guy. Now,
Well, you're going to have interior in the bloody thing.
Well, here's the thing. Do we send it to have the graphics put on it? Let me just look at this picture here for a minute, because what I'm worried about, okay, yeah, so we're away from windows and stuff like that. I was worried, yeah, so we're good. So yeah, we could have all the glass installed. By the way, the wing is getting sorted out. We have the stands being made,
Okay.
and that's over at Richard's shop at B-Side Fab.
Okay.
And he's doing all of that. We should have that back next week, actually. He has the deck lid. Here's what I'm thinking. Once it's been painted, it's cured for a week and a half, color sand and buff, we install the glass, and then we send it out for graphics.
Well, it has to be a roller. It's got to have a steering wheel and all that other kind of stuff, right?
Well, it's got that now. What I say is we do the interior last, since we have all the parts.
Well, certainly do the back half of the interior last, because that's where the stereo has to go. And I was talking to Darren Shrum, who gave us that last amp that I just had
Right.
delivered last week.
Yeah.
So he actually worked at Audio Options, where my stereo was built back in 1998. Okay. That amp that he provided to us came from the same batch of amps that went into this car. So when they got the order from Phase Audio, there was X number of amps, and this was one of those amps, and still brand new in the package.
Oh, that's
So
funny.
that's the amp that we got. But he was also there, wiring and all that kind of stuff, working on the trunk of this car. So I said, we're going to get you down here when we're doing the audio
Oh,
stuff.
that's cool.
And he says, absolutely, I'm all for it.
Sweet.
So
All
he'll
right.
be able to give us some help with that.
Fantastic.
I mean, I remember seeing the thing all apart, but he's going to be a greater source of information and guidance for us. So.
So the roll cage, was that a custom roll cage?
Yep, Pat
Okay.
Safi out in Temecula built that for me. He used to work at IBOC,
Okay.
and I was still friends with him when I left IBOC, and so he built that for us.
What I'm thinking is we have B-Side Fab do the roll cage.
That custom claw thing to join the down tubes.
Yeah,
right?
Alex and you talked about that.
And
and
1
he,
3/4 inch pipe, as I recall.
Yep, and he and Richard over at B-Side Fabrication actually talked about that. And he knows exactly what couplers are needed.
There were, with the Allen head screws, right, and they're flush, so the whole countersunk.
Yeah.
The holes were countersunk so that you can run your hand over that section and not feel the head of the
Yeah.
of the screw.
why we haven't done the wheels yet. Obviously, we're waiting for the final fitment of the bumper and the side skirts. And then once that's completed, then we're going to pre-fit the wheels and determine exactly how much.
And then send them out to get rebarreled and all that stuff.
Right.
All kind of stuff,
And then there's also the deal of fitting the brakes on. Now, with that being said, if I remember correctly, there was some conversation about you locating a set of original Stillen.
Right. So we
Brakes.
found a set of Stillen 300ZX brake calipers, okay? Now, I'm not sure about the specs. I got to talk to Alex again. I reached out to the guy and to ask if they would fit, because we're going to have to take some measurements apparently. So I'm not sure if they're going to fit, but we know that the mounting bracket will be completely different. Dave DeShane, who went through the same thing with his car, he had to have custom brackets made, CNC'd and all that kind of stuff. And he said he spent $3,000 Canadian to have that done. Now, I don't know what the market is up there. I don't know if he had to go like a specialized race shop, that's why he paid so much, or if it was just that complicated to do the engineering to make it work and come together.
So what about the brakes we already bought from your other buddy?
So
Can we use the brackets for those and just use the Stillen caliper?
I'm not an expert in there, so I wouldn't want to hazard a guess, but I would tell you that the brake calipers that we have sitting over there are bigger than the Stillen ones, and it came with the brackets. And those are the ones that Dave DeShane had on his car. So they resemble these. They're still APs, right? But they're not the same as the Stillen one, because of that embossed area where the Stillen metal decal resides.
Right.
That kind of thing. The color was very close to this, a blackish charcoal
Right, I remember,
version, rather than what you see with some of the AP stuff, which is like a charcoal gray.
Okay.
And then, of course, they have black as well. But
I know the discussion that I had with Alex was, God, do we want to spend another whole bunch of money just to buy those Stillen calipers?
I think that the deciding factor is going to be, once we get the wheel created, right, for the brake, and then we put the brake on, right, we're doing that fitment stuff,
Right.
and having that discussion, we're in that process, then we're going to have to come to a conclusion, because we're going to see what the clearances are going to look like.
Yeah, right, okay.
Because he had that funky valve stem in there.
Yeah, I kind of
Remember, you had to unscrew the thing with the special tool from the inside, be on the outer lip down in here.
Yeah, I remember
You had
that.
to unscrew that thing and then put a hose in there and all that kind of stuff, a special adapter and everything.
Yeah.
That's no good if you're driving down the road and you get a flat or you start losing air.
True.
Because you can't be doing that on the side of the road.
Yeah.
So that's not the solution.
Well, I think what we do is we wait to get this bumper back. Once the bumper's on, this is finalized. Wheel fitment, wheels go out, have the wheels rebarreled to the specs we need them to be in. We just go crazy on body and paint.
Well,
And that's all happening here soon. It's just right now we're in a holding pattern until this bumper gets done and until the skirts get done. The spats are the spats hardly need any work at all.
right, that puts us through February into March. Wait for the wheels, probably by the time this thing is done, end of March.
Yeah. And then by that time the engine is getting built. It's on a stand at the shop. And we're just gonna, once you guys figure out what you're gonna do with the turbo manifold and sort that out. Again, I'm hands off on that. The heat shield, all that stuff, that's gonna be easy stuff. I don't see that being a problem. This thing actually is going to get all the metal work done on it. I think we've got all the metal work already in our possession. Now we just have to get it sorted out.
So when we get these two cars side by side down there in Terminal Island,
Yep.
you're going to be our Vin Diesel, right?
Hey, why not?
We've got three other Vin Diesels.
I know, right?
We have a little person Vin Diesel. We have Fit Rich, and we have Gino over in Las Vegas. So if you need a stunt driver, let me know.
Hey, we could do that.
I've seen you drive. I don't think you need a stunt driver. You crazy man. But
I'm telling
it's
you,
going to have the
man.
900 horsepower engine in it.
I'm pretty sure it is.
All right.
I mean, you know, Joe up there at Hawaii Racing is going full-fledged. We did a little, you know, we did a whole thing on this car on our channel. Oh man, I can't wait to see this thing. I can't wait to hear this thing. You know, we're talking about putting a 9-inch Ford rear end in it.
So it doesn't blow up?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting when you pull this 600 plus horsepower car, pretty much the way I had it, against a 900 horsepower car down there in Terminal Island. And everybody will see who really won that race.
Well,
and let me, spoilers, what's your bet?
Well, let me just tell you this. Joe said when we were doing our video for introducing Joe to the channel, I was talking about how I didn't want to tub it because the original car wasn't tubbed.
Right.
I want to keep it in stock form as much as possible. And he looked at me and he goes, "You're going to lose."
Traction is action.
Exactly.
Right? If you can't get
Yeah,
traction, it doesn't matter how much horsepower you have.
Yeah.
If it doesn't hook up.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he said, and that's true. And so I don't know, man. I don't know. It'll be fun. Either way, it doesn't matter.
And I promise you, it won't be smoking the tires and doing a burnout at the same time.
That's not going to happen.
That's my prediction. So.
That's not going to happen. But it'll be fun to see them together. These cars are so iconic together, and the fact that we get to do both of them is just so much fun.
We're going to have to get 100 people out there to spectate.
Yeah, that'll be cool, won't it?
Yeah, well, we got to find out about permits and all that kind of stuff.
Well, we got time. We got to start looking into it. Thanks for checking out today's video. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. I know a lot of people are checking us out and they're not subscribers. It really helps with our algorithm with YouTube. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up. And hey guys, listen, there's some really cool, and I mean cool content coming. So stand by, more stuff's coming this way.
Yeah.